Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going on a bit of an adventure.
Oh,
Yeah, we're going to be exploring a topic that you might not have heard of before.
okay.
It's called the Bornavirus.
Bornavirus.
Yeah, and it might sound like something straight out of like a sci-fi movie or something,
Mm.
but it's a real virus.
It is.
Yeah, and it's potentially pretty serious.
Okay.
And it's been causing some concern,
Where?
especially over in Bavaria, Germany.
Hmm. Interesting.
So what's got the attention of researchers is that this virus can cause brain inflammation.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just limited to animals.
Oh, so it can affect humans?
Yeah, it can.
Wow.
And it was originally thought to just affect animals like horses and sheep,
Right.
but it's been popping up in other animals too,
Like what?
like hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs.
Yeah, and that's got people asking a lot of questions.
I bet.
So for this deep dive, we're going straight to the source.
Okay.
We've got some recent German news articles, and we've got some reports from the Robert Koch Institute.
And who are they?
They're Germany's public health authority.
Okay.
So let's unpack this whole thing,
Sounds good.
starting with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly is the Bornavirus?
Well, the Bornavirus is a rare but serious virus that can cause encephalitis in mammals.
Encephalitis.
Yeah.
So for those of us who might not be familiar with that term,
Sure.
what is that?
Encephalitis is an inflammation of the brain,
Oh, wow.
and it can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I bet.
The specific type we're talking about here is called Borna disease virus 1,
Okay.
or BODV1 for short.
A BOD1 got it.
Yeah.
And it's this BODV1 that's been causing so much concern over in Bavaria,
Right.
especially with those hedgehog cases.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Bavaria has seen a number of cases in hedgehogs,
Mm.
specifically in two districts,
Okay.
Rotterdam and
These are
Eberfeld.
Rottel-Inn and Ebersberg.
Yeah, and in fact, one hedgehog sanctuary in Iggenfelden.
A hedgehog sanctuary.
Yeah, they had several of their hedgehogs test positive for the virus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So they're in a place that's dedicated to caring for these animals,
Right.
and they find this virus.
Yeah.
It really brings it home.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just happening in a lab somewhere.
Yeah.
This is in our ecosystems.
Right. In our backyards, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so real that the Landratsamt Ebersberg,
Who's that?
that's the local public health office there,
Okay.
they issued a warning to residents about the virus.
Wow.
Yeah, in both hedgehogs and horses.
Really?
Yeah. So this is where it gets interesting because while the cases in animals are concerning,
Yeah, of course.
there's also the worry about transmission to humans.
Right.
So this is where we need to talk about shrews.
Shrews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Specifically, the bicolored white-toothed shrew,
Okay.
which researchers believe is the main way that this virus jumps to humans.
Interesting.
Yeah, so shrews,
What are those?
they're small mouse-like creatures,
Okay.
and they're known to carry the Bornavirus.
I see.
So imagine like you're out gardening. you
Yeah.
know. You're digging in the soil, maybe disturbing some leaf litter,
Uh-huh.
and you unknowingly come in contact with some shrew droppings.
Oh.
That's how easily this virus can spread.
Wow.
Yeah, the virus is shed through their saliva, their urine, and their feces.
Hmm.
So contact with those, or even with contaminated dust or soil, can be a route of infection.
So even doing something like gardening could be risky.
Yeah, it's a bit unsettling, to be honest,
It makes you think twice about doing those chores.
for sure. But what about the hedgehogs?
Mhm.
Can they transmit the virus to humans too?
That's still a bit of a mystery, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So while hedgehogs can carry other pathogens,
Right.
it's not yet clear if they can actually pass the Bornavirus on to humans.
Mm.
So scientists are still working to figure that out.
So there's a lot we don't know.
There is.
But what we do know is that in humans, this virus can lead to brain inflammation,
Right.
encephalitis,
Yeah.
and that can be really dangerous.
It can be fatal.
Yeah. And it's often fatal, which is why this whole thing is being taken so seriously.
Yeah, makes sense.
But we can't forget about the hedgehogs.
Right.
They suffer from the virus too.
Of course.
Symptoms in hedgehogs can include things like lethargy, loss of appetite, muscle twitches,
Mm-hmm.
and an inability to curl into a ball,
Ah.
which is their way of protecting themselves.
Yeah, so it's a threat to both humans and these little creatures.
It is.
Yeah.
So what can people do to protect themselves?
Well, the most important thing is awareness.
Okay.
Knowing that this virus exists and that it can be found in shrews,
Right.
and knowing that it can potentially spread to humans through contact with their droppings.
Okay.
So being aware of your surroundings, especially in areas where shrews might be living,
Like where?
like gardens and fields.
Okay, so awareness is key.
It is.
But what if you come across a shrew?
Well, if you absolutely have to handle a dead shrew,
Okay.
or you're cleaning an area that might be contaminated with shrew droppings,
Yeah.
it's really important to protect yourself. Wear gloves and a mask.
Okay, serious precaution.
Definitely.
And while we don't know for sure if hedgehogs can transmit the virus,
Right.
probably a good idea to wear gloves when handling them too,
Good point.
just in case.
Yeah, because they could be carrying other things that we don't want to come in contact with.
Right, and this brings up another important point. There's currently no vaccine for the Bornavirus.
No vaccine.
Nope.
That's concerning.
It is, which means prevention is our best line of defense for now.
Right.
Avoiding contact with those shrews and their droppings is paramount.
Okay, so awareness and prevention are key takeaways here.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like there are efforts underway to learn more about this virus and crack its spread.
Yeah, for sure. So the Robert Koch Institute in Germany has been on top of this.
Okay.
They've made it mandatory to report any Bornavirus cases since 2020. And the Friedrich Loeffler Institute, which is Germany's Federal Research Institute for Animal Health,
Okay.
they're actively studying the virus as well.
So they're really trying to get a handle on this.
They are. So what kind of research are they doing?
Well, one of the big things they're looking at is figuring out exactly how this virus is transmitted.
Okay.
And if there are any other animals besides shrews that can spread it to humans.
So they're looking beyond just the shrews.
Yeah,
Okay. And are they working on any, treatments or anything?
they are. They're working on developing better ways to diagnose and treat the virus,
Okay.
which is really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's fascinating to see how science responds to these emerging threats.
it is. It's like a detective story.
It's just piecing together all the clues.
Yeah, to try and understand this virus and how to keep it from causing more harm.
Yeah, a detective story with real-world consequences.
Exactly.
And that's what makes this whole topic so compelling.
It really is. And as we dig deeper into this,
Yeah,
it's striking how much we still don't know.
it's true. The more we learn, the more questions seem to come up.
Right.
Like we've talked about how shrews are the main culprits for spreading this to humans.
Uh-huh.
But what about transmission between other animals?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, can it spread from, say, a hedgehog to a squirrel?
That's a good question.
Or even back to a shrew?
That's one that researchers are actively investigating.
Okay.
We know that animals like hedgehogs can get infected,
Right.
but whether they can pass it on to other animals
Yeah.
or even back to shrews is still unclear.
Mm.
Answering that question is really crucial for understanding how this virus spreads.
Right, because if it is circulating among other animal populations,
Yeah.
that could have a significant impact on their health and survival.
Absolutely. And this is where something called the One Health concept comes into play.
Okay, the One Health concept.
Yeah.
So for those who aren't familiar,
Sure.
what does that mean?
Well, it's all about recognizing that human health
Okay.
is closely connected to the health of animals
Hmm.
and the environment.
Okay, so it's not just about us.
Nope, it's about everything.
So it's taking a broader view,
Yeah, looking at the bigger picture.
recognizing those connections between different areas.
Exactly.
That might not seem obvious at first.
Right.
So the Bornavirus isn't just a human health issue.
Nope.
It's a One Health issue.
It is.
And that really underscores the complexity of all this.
It does. And as we delve further into this deep dive,
Yeah.
I think you'll see just how interconnected this all really is.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued to learn more.
Me too.
And I think this is a good place to pause for now.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
Yeah, we have.
From understanding what this Bornavirus is,
Right.
to the role of the shrews,
Uh-huh.
and the importance of this One Health approach.
For sure, we've laid a good foundation.
Definitely. And for those of you listening,
Yeah.
we'll be back soon with part 2,
Okay.
where we'll delve even deeper into those Bavarian cases
Okay.
and explore the potential long-term implications of this virus.
Sounds good.
And take a closer look at those global research efforts that are underway.
There's a lot more to uncover.
Definitely. So stay tuned.
Okay.
We'll be back to continue our deep dive into the Bornavirus shortly.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Bornavirus.
Okay.
In the last part, we talked about shrews and hedgehogs
Here we did.
and even gardening.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing how a seemingly harmless activity
Yeah.
can suddenly feel risky when you learn something new.
It's true. Knowledge can definitely change our perspective.
For sure.
And speaking of new knowledge,
Yeah.
let's revisit those cases in Bavaria
Okay.
that really brought this Bornavirus to the forefront.
Right. You mentioned that the Landrat Eversberg,
Yeah.
which is the local health authority there,
Right.
issued a warning to residents.
They did.
That sounds pretty serious.
It does suggest that they're really taking this threat seriously.
Yeah.
They've had cases in both hedgehogs and horses.
Right?
So it's clear that this virus is present in their ecosystem.
It makes you wonder how worried we should be about this virus spreading.
What other areas?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to predict with certainty,
Right.
but we do know that viruses can be unpredictable.
Yeah.
The fact that we're seeing cases in new areas
Mm-hmm.
and in different animal species
Yeah.
suggests that this Bornavirus might be adapting and spreading.
We also talked about that case of the woman in Rotterdam
Yeah.
who sadly passed away from the virus.
Way back in 2022.
Yeah. Was there any more information released about how she might have contracted it?
Unfortunately, no. The details of that specific case haven't been made public,
Hmm.
but it does serve as a stark reminder that while human infection is still rare,
Yeah.
it can have devastating consequences.
It really underscores the importance of taking precautions,
It does.
even if you think your risk is low.
Absolutely.
And it brings up another question. How easy is it to diagnose this virus? That's a good question.
If the symptoms can be similar to other conditions,
Yeah.
could it be difficult to catch it early on?
That's a valid concern. Diagnosing the Bornavirus can be tricky because those symptoms can mimic other neurological conditions.
Yeah.
It often requires specialized testing,
Mm.
and doctors need to have a high level of suspicion to even consider it.
So early detection might be a challenge.
It can be.
And I imagine early detection is pretty crucial when dealing with encephalitis.
Yeah, given how serious it can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the difficulty in diagnosing it just adds another layer of complexity
It does.
to this whole issue.
Sure.
It sounds like we need more research into better diagnostic tools.
Yeah.
And, of course, into treatments.
Treatments are really important.
What's the current situation regarding treatment options?
Well, finding effective treatments for viral encephalitis
Yeah.
is a big challenge in medicine.
Yeah.
Antiviral medications have limited effectiveness,
Again.
a lot of viruses that cause encephalitis,
Mm.
and there's currently no specific antiviral treatment for the Bornavirus.
So for now, prevention is our best bet.
It is.
But thinking long term, what are the potential implications of this virus? Could we see more cases popping up?
It's tough to say for sure,
Right.
but it's definitely a possibility.
Great.
Things like climate change
Uh-huh.
and habitat encroachment could play a role,
Yeah.
altering the distribution of shrews
Yeah.
and other animals that carry the virus.
Right. So that could lead to more contact with humans.
Exactly. It's something we need to be mindful of.
So climate change, habitat encroachment.
Yeah.
It seems like this Bornavirus is just one example
Ugh.
of how interconnected everything is.
It's like a domino effect.
It is, and it brings us back to those global research efforts.
Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned that the Robert Koch Institute in Germany
Right.
is tracking the spread of this virus.
They are.
Are there any other countries or organizations involved?
Absolutely. Well, Germany has been really proactive.
Okay.
Research efforts are happening worldwide.
So it's not just Germany.
No, not at all. Scientists in various countries are collaborating.
Too.
Better understand the virus,
Oh.
its transmission routes. Yeah.
and potential treatment options.
So it's a global effort.
It is.
That's good to hear. It sounds like the scientific community is taking this threat seriously.
They are.
But what about public awareness?
That's a great point.
What can we do to better inform people about this virus?
Well, public education is crucial.
Okay.
Clear and easy to understand information about the virus,
Uh-huh.
how it spreads,
Yeah.
and the precautions people can take
Okay.
should be widely available.
Okay, so like what? What are we talking about here?
This could involve public service announcements,
Okay.
educational materials in doctor's offices,
Uh-huh.
or even outreach programs in communities where the virus is present.
So getting the word out is just as important as the research itself.
I would agree with that.
The more people know,
Yeah,
the better equipped they'll be to protect themselves,
absolutely. Knowledge is power,
especially when it comes to our health.
for sure.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least.
It has.
It's amazing how a virus most people haven't even heard of.
Can have such widespread implications.
It's a reminder that we live in a very complex world,
We do.
and even seemingly small threats can have big consequences.
Well said, and I think that's a perfect segue into our next part,
Okay.
where we'll explore those broader implications of the Bornavirus.
Sounds good.
We'll look at things like the potential economic impact
Okay.
and its connection to other emerging infectious diseases.
Interesting.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the Bornavirus.
All right.
We've covered a lot of ground,
Yeah, we have.
from those hedgehog cases over in Bavaria
Right.
to the importance of those global research efforts and public awareness.
Yeah.
But there's still so much to explore, isn't there?
There is.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Mm.
Each layer reveals something new and unexpected.
I like that analogy.
And I think in this final part,
Yeah.
we can really kind of step back
Okay.
and look at the bigger picture.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, those broader implications.
Right, because it's not just about individual cases of this virus.
Right.
It's about the ripple effects.
Ripple effects.
Yeah, like how this can have an impact on things like our healthcare systems,
Right.
research priorities, and even our perception of the natural world.
It makes you see things differently.
It does?
We've talked about the impact on wildlife,
Yeah.
but I'm curious about the economic side of things.
Okay, the economic side.
Like all this increased surveillance, the testing, the research,
Yeah.
all that requires a lot of funding
It does.
and resources. That must put a strain on healthcare budgets, right?
Absolutely. And if an area becomes known for having a higher risk of this Bornavirus,
Yeah.
it can impact tourism and agriculture.
Really?
Yeah, people might be hesitant to visit. And there could be trade restrictions. It could have a real economic ripple effect.
I hadn't even considered the tourism impact.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It really does highlight those interconnected systems.
It does. And, as we think about the Bornavirus in this broader context, it makes me wonder, are there any parallels between this virus and other emerging infectious diseases that we've seen?
Like what?
Like Zika or Ebola?
It does seem like we're hearing more and more about these emerging diseases.
So we are.
Is there a connection?
There are definitely some interesting connections.
Okay.
Like many emerging diseases, the Bornavirus is what we call a zoonotic disease.
Zoonotic.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That means it can be transmitted from animals to humans.
Oh, okay.
And we've seen this with viruses like Zika and Ebola, and of course SARS-CoV-2.
Right. The virus that causes COVID-19.
Exactly. So there's a pattern emerging here.
But why are we seeing more of these zoonotic diseases?
Well, there are a number of factors at play.
Right.
Deforestation, for example,
Okay.
that's pushing humans and animals closer together.
Right, more contact.
Exactly, which increases the chances for viruses to jump species.
And climate change is playing a role too. Yeah.
It is, yeah. Shifting temperatures, weather patterns.
Yeah.
They can impact the animals that carry these viruses. And then there's global trade and travel.
Right. We're also connected now.
Exactly. And that can quickly spread a virus to new areas.
It's like we're creating the perfect storm for these diseases to emerge.
It's definitely something we need to be mindful of.
Yeah. And that's why that One Health approach is so important.
It is.
Recognizing those connections.
Yeah.
And finding ways to coexist with the natural world.
Exactly.
Minimize those risks.
So back to the Bornavirus specifically.
Okay.
What are some of those key research questions that still need to be answered?
Well, one of the big ones is understanding the virus's life cycle better.
Like how it works.
Yeah, how does it replicate? How does it evolve? And how does it persist in different animal populations?
So we need to know more about how it behaves.
We do, and that's crucial for developing those prevention strategies.
Right, and we still need treatments.
Are there any promising avenues for developing antivirals or other therapies?
There's a lot of research happening in that area.
Okay.
Scientists are exploring a range of approaches,
Oh, what?
like repurposing existing antiviral drugs
Okay.
and developing new ones that target the Bornavirus specifically.
How's promising?
It does, but it's a long process.
Yeah.
It takes time to find safe and effective treatments.
It seems like there's a long road ahead
There is.
when it comes to fully understanding and managing this virus.
But I'm hopeful.
You are?
I am, with continued research collaboration.
Yeah.
And a commitment to that One Health approach,
Right.
I think we can make progress.
That's good to hear. And it's important to remember that even though this is a serious topic,
Yeah.
it's not all doom and gloom.
It's not. There are some brilliant minds out there working on this. And I believe with a sustained effort, we can make a difference.
That's a great reminder, and I think that's a perfect note to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah,
We've learned a lot about this Bornavirus,
we have.
from those early cases in Bavaria to those broader implications for our health and our planet.
It's been quite a journey.
It has, and I hope everyone listening has a greater understanding of the virus now
Me too.
and the importance of the One Health approach
Absolutely.
and the power of scientific research.
It's amazing what they can do.
It is. And remember, knowledge is power.
Always.
The more we understand about these threats, the better we can protect ourselves and our planet.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So thank you for joining us for this deep dive. And until next time, stay curious stay informed, and maybe be a little more mindful of those shrews lurking in the garden?